Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Believe in Yourself, Heart&Mind podcast, where I bring on really special guests who have gone through amazing life experiences and have so much to share and offer to those who are willing to listen and to continue to pave their own path. So, for this episode, I'm super excited to bring on someone who is incredibly experienced in the area of user experience design and also an AI voice leader. She has published her own books from the area of a personal experience to other areas that are more of a professional side. So she's very well-rounded in so many different parts of her life and has just so many great insights to talk to leaders and even people like myself and others who are just willing to learn as she continues to build large communities to really understand what it means to develop technologies that really cater to the human experience. So I am super excited to bring on a really special guest, Shyamala Prayaga. And Shyamala, if you could basically help us learn more about you. And in the meantime, I have a really interesting quote that came from your book. It's believe in your heart that you're meant to live a life full of passion, purpose, magic, and miracles by Roy T. Bennett. And I just wanted to kind of open up to for you to explain maybe a bit about yourself and why did you start off with a quote like that in your book?
Yeah, definitely. So, thank you for that introduction. My name is Shyamala Prayaga. I'm the product manager at NVIDIA, and I lead the deep learning product suites at NVIDIA, and have been in the industry for over 20 years now. Started as a UX designer, worked as a now I work as a product manager. So my journey has been a mix of a design blend plus also the technology blend with the artificial intelligence, the code models, and things like that. Um, so, you know, as a child, when I started when I was a kid, I had this dream that I wanted to make a name for myself, but I did not know how it will happen. The only thing I knew was I believed in myself. And I was like, one day I will become a thought leader. One day I will be addressed with my name for the work I do, not as a wife of someone or daughter of someone. I wanted to have an identity bigger than that. And I used to talk about every time, I used to talk about one day I'll write a book, when things happened in my life. And I was like, one day I will write a book about all of this. One day I will become a thought leader when I was in fifth grade. So that, all those things what I spoke about happened in life. And when I reflected back uh, for all the things what has happened, I realized the thing which was common was belief. I believed in myself. I believed in the situations. Everything what was happening for me, I believed was for my greater good. And to the point where I am today, everything I look from that. And I realized like everything in your life happens for a reason, and you are the creator of your own life. And that is why I start my book with a quote.
That's so powerful. I was just feeling so excited when I heard what you were describing because, um, well, one thing is I connect with all of that, having gone through my own life journey. But the other aspect of it is how many more people need to hear that? Because there are a lot of women and children who, let's say in other parts of the world or even the US, where they just don't know how to believe in themselves or they're relying on other people to believe in them. So they feel like they can do something more. But the fact is, you said you were a young girl and you said, I believe in myself, and you stitch it all together throughout your entire life that there's a common thread, a theme here. That when you can see that you are the creator of your own life and journey, you're more likely to do greater things. Could you expand a little bit more on that? Where did that belief or what really shaped you in that young version of yourself to where you are today?
Yeah. So I come from a very spiritual family where I was taught like even a leaf cannot move without God's will, right? So I come from that kind of family. My parents used to always instill this thing in me that, God is everything and God is going to take care of everything. Just believe in Him. But what happened when I used to look at it from that angle, I never connected. I was like, it always had this like fear factor, like, if something negative happens in my life, I would be afraid of things like, why is it happening? Like, did I do something wrong? God punished me. So, slowly, although my teachings were like that, slowly I started realizing like there's more to it. So, I loved reading books, as a kid also, and now also I continue that tradition. I also continue the tradition with my son. We read books together. So I used to read a lot of books. And during reading, I realized a lot of things like how our thoughts and how our emotions connect and become the reality. It's not, yes, there is God for people who believe in God. For atheists, there's no God, but there is some more supernatural power or some other thing in the universe which connects. So the concept might be different. Some call it the gazebo effect. Like there's like different names for each of these things. But what I realized is there's a thought in your mind. You think about it. When you think about it and when you feel that this has happened in my life, that becomes your reality. You are generating those kind of chemicals in your body which actually will help you get to where you want to be. There's like bigger concept around this, like how this connects to the universe and all of those things. In my mind, it's all science. But then what happened was when I used to read these kind of books, it used to fascinate me because I did not know any of these concepts. All I knew was I used to dream about these things. There was a thought in my mind. I used to dream like I am on the stage taking awards and I've been recognized. All of those kind of visualizations I used to do. I did not realize like there's a visualization thing which you have to do. Like some people will call it daydreaming. That's what I used to do.
Yeah.
I used to see myself in that position and taking awards, or I used to see myself in like magazine covers and all of those as a kid. And I was like, yeah, I think I can make it happen, but I don't know how. I came from a very small town, a very, very conservative family where my sister got married when she was 18. So of course, I was expected to get married around the same time. That was like, oh no, no, if it is later than that, maybe, there's something wrong. So but what I would say is in all of these things, I understood the concept. I understood the concept of, where this belief system comes from. It never comes from fear. It never comes from fear. And it never comes from like you have no control in your life. It comes from a different place. Like you are the creator of your life. It's like, you plant a seed and that becomes a plant and a tree, right? How does that happen? It's the same thing with our life. So if someone told me that even a leaf cannot move without God's will, I would question it. I would be like, how come? And so that's how my mindset changed when I started reading these kind of interesting books. Uh, and with that, there was this specific book, The Secret, very interesting book. So when I started reading these things, I realized like, there's a rewiring which needs to happen in your mind. How you think is so much important. How you feel, what you feel is so much important. And it was based on my personality. It was like nothing that I had to learn or like unlearn. It was just that my personality was always like that as a kid. I always used to, have this strong personality that I want to do this, I will do it. How, I don't know, but I'll make it work. That's it. So, yeah, it all kind of worked out, I would say.
Yeah. And I'm just like I'm trying to see how to explain this, but what I hear is that you are very observant and very self-reflective. Even as a kid, you continue to build that skill of awareness, and you use books as like a resource to kind of help you engage with other perspective and experiences, and also you engage with your own life, and so you continue that dialogue, that that way of learning what is real, and then also determining the how, meaning like you were saying, you didn't know exactly how, but you're willing to take the step forward and put yourself in that position, even though your brain could be saying like, hey, you don't know what you're doing. Like you're just a like a young kid, like no one in your family has ever done, like your brain can make all of these different thoughts, but you allowed yourself to have new thoughts and new ideas. And I love that you talked about dreaming or daydreaming, because you know if you talk to some other individuals, like especially in school, sometimes you get a bit punished, right? Like for daydreaming, which is not pleasant, or like you get pointed out for not paying attention or whatever. But like the reality is that there is a benefit to like allowing yourself to kind of gauge yourself elsewhere, and see how else you can kind of grow and evolve, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was super powerful what you were saying. And I was wondering, while you were talking, even though you came to all these realization, you learned so much about yourself. There must have been areas in your life where there were pure key turning points for you, and these helped you to say like well, I think that's one of them, right? Where you were in your childhood years, but also other areas in your experience where you're gonna get pushback from people. There are gonna be people who won't look like you or sound like you. How did you kind of use those key turning points, and what were they to help evolve yourself to the person you are today?
Yeah, many turning points, I would say. There's not one, in my 40 years, definitely there has been many, right? But what I would say is, there were, I had 3 times I was laid off from my job, right? And so, of course, there were things like people did not believe in me. People doubted when I used to talk about my vision, even as a kid. So there was another aspect to it, right? Like when I was in school, I was bullied a lot, and so my drive to become a thought leader and do something also came from that. Like one day I will show everyone that I'm worth everything in life. So that itself, like all the things which happened in as a kid, like all the bullying, I was like the most, I would say, like underconfident kid in there, and was not confident even to do a public speaking. So we used to have a public speaking classes, and we used to get some random topics to talk about, and I would be like the one who would always make a disaster out of that, because I would not know what to say, how to say, and how to frame things up, to the point where today I do a lot of public speaking. It was a huge thing, because I don't know how. I was never confident about public speaking. I never thought that would become my strongest suit. But eventually, there was a point where I applied to speak many years back, and I spoke in that conference. So usually, what happens after every conference, there is a speaker evaluation form, and out of the 50 plus speakers, you get a score for each speaker. How did they do and all? And I was like the second last from bottom, right? That was a turning point for me. Like, what's going on here? Like, I'm very confident about what I want to do, but what's happening? Like, why am I second last from the bottom, not from the top? So that means like I'm the worst speaker. I'm like, I'm not going to take that as you know a brand for myself. And then I went back and I looked at the feedback, and I looked at, and it was really nice. Like, that conference actually had a lot of uh, questions from the attendees, and there was like very specific kind of things, like what you liked, what you did not like about the speaker topic, or the speaker itself, or the presentation, and all of those things that helped me so much that I took that. And then I used to talk in front of the mirror. I used to present in front of the mirror. Like, every time there was something, Even now I don't prepare none of the things I prepare. So when I go to conferences, I do not have a very well prepared speech. I never did that in my life. But what has helped me is, presenting and learning how to present in front of the mirror. That gave me so much confidence. People underestimate these kind of things, but believe me or not, if you have to hone your skills, you have to do certain things which will help you. So from that point to now today, that I am called into a lot of these conferences without having to apply, has definitely been a huge success for me, right? Yeah, that was a huge turning point for me. And then the layoffs were the second turning point, because every time there was a layoff, I used to feel there's something wrong with me. And it you know layoffs will never give you this good feeling, right? It's like, it sucks. There's so many things, like life's dependent on you, and everything overnight changes. So the first layoff, when it happened, it was interesting because I was a passive job seeker. So when I got the first layoff, I already had an offer from Amazon by then. So that layoff did not hurt me as much. And I was like, okay, whatever, I already have an option. So that first layoff really did not feel like a layoff. But then the second layoff came, which was a major layoff at Amazon. The whole department was laid off. I was part of it. I was in this country dependent, because I came as an immigrant. I had this L visa, so I cannot work for any other employer. And then what happened was, when I got laid off, I got worried, because I think it was 4 or 5 months into this country, and I was laid off, and I was like, oh my god. And I was holding on to that feeling very strongly. I was holding on to this feeling, and I felt like, if I do not get a job, my life will end here. And I was like really holding off to this, the fears which we have. Because in my mind, I was feeling like I failed my husband, I failed my son, because I brought them all together with me. And my husband left his managerial job just to support me, and then I felt like a failure in front of everyone. So for me, that was the point where it was very difficult for me. And internally, I was not able to get any other job. So felt like the road has closed for me. There's no option for me. And then one day I sat and I was like, I just had 60 days. I had to find something, or I have to leave the country. And then I just went back and changed my thoughts. And I was like, okay, I got laid off. Can I change that? No, I cannot change it. That has happened to me. I have to accept it. What worst will happen? Is this a life and death situation? And then I realized, like, no, I've seen the death of the closest person, or the person I love the most, and I have overcome even that. So this is not life and death, right? What can I do about it? I started retrospecting and questioning myself. What can I do about it? And I'm like, maybe I'll find something. What's the worst which can happen? The worst thing which can happen is I will go back to my own country. Is that so bad? I was like, no, it's not bad. I will go back to my country. I will be with my people. I will be with my family, right? So there's nothing bad. And what if I don't get any other job? Then I was like, at least I know my skill sets. I will not be a homeless, or I will not be jobless. I'll do some job. I have done so many different odd jobs. I have sold insurances. I was a faculty, and I've done all sorts of things, in the past. So I can get at least some job. I will not be homeless. So I started, doing these question answer with myself. And I felt so much relief. All the pressure, all the tension which I was holding off to just went off. And that is when, I felt the freedom. And I felt like, okay, this layoff doesn't mean anything to me. I have the power. Again, going back to, when difficult things happens with you, you would always go back and hold on to that feeling, right? And you will not believe in what you are, who you are, and what you are capable of doing. And that's what was happening with me, because I was holding on to that feeling very tightly. And but the moment I realized that, okay, just leave it, surrender, and accept what's happening. Things will work out. I know one thing for sure: I will not be homeless, I will not be jobless. I will find something when I don't know, but things will work out for me. That was my mindset, and that changed everything for me. I felt so much better. But at the same time, 2 or 3 days later, I had another offer from some other team at Amazon, and I was like, okay. So another thing, what happens is, when you hold on to certain feelings again, or certain emotions, you are releasing fear, or you are releasing, the emotions which are not good for you, and you are sending those signals to the universe. So you need to really understand how all of these things work. So that was another turning point in my life. And it's important because, and I love this analogy. My mom used to tell me, like, if you try to hold sand very tight in your hand, it will fall. It will fall. You cannot hold sand, right? The same way, you cannot hold your life. You just need to leave. Sometimes you need to believe. That's what you have to do in your life.
Wow. I love your story. It's so empowering, and the way you broke it down was very refreshing to know that when you're going through a very tough time, no matter what it might be, some kind of trauma, some kind of like life event, you lost something, you can use those methods that you just basically named of like reflecting, allowing yourself to kind of open up, right? Be like an open book and ask yourself those questions like, how am I really doing? Will this will this actually happen, or will it not, kind of thing, and really testing your thoughts to see if they're real or not, right? And then what are you willing to accept? And the ones that you're willing to accept, go with it. But then the other ones, kind of leave it, just leave it behind kind of thing. Like there's nothing else you can do, right? So I thought that was a really powerful way of sorting through all the emotions and how the brain is trying to literally survive or help you, but you need to do the opposite and like say, hey brain, like calm down. Like here's how we're gonna do it. And you kept that cool. You brought it back control in your life by doing those things. And I know you said you have people around you, but the fact is no one can really do this work but yourself, right?
No one can
That's
do
the
it.
thing.
No
um
one can do it. And believe me, spending time with yourself and doing reflection, self reflection is something we don't do. We live in such a busy life that we are always like, we have a goal to meet, and then we have certain things to do. We are like hustling, bustling, and all. I've realized slowing down is so important. Morning 1 hour, evening 1 hour, no matter where I am, I do meditations, I do self reflections, I do journaling, I do all of those things because that has helped me a lot. And I realized, like, the best gift you can give yourself is spending time with yourself and understanding who you are from inside out.
That's powerful. And I did want to kind of shift into that a little bit. And I love that you brought it up. Like, this is what I do each day. And I know that for some people, that I talk to, sometimes journaling doesn't really work for them. But maybe like music does, or like talking to a friend. What are some of those practical things that you do? Because for my standpoint is sometimes I feel like I'm doing so great, like I have all these goals and I'm working towards them, and then sometimes you do have to take that time to like just sit with yourself. What is the next few goals that you want to create? Because when you kind of get to a point where you completed certain goals, your mind's like, I'm good, you know what I mean? And then but the idea is life keeps going. And sometimes the other times is you're so stuck in this one direction that you drive yourself to believe that this is the way, right? Like for example, you want to build a strong career, so you're gonna like work hard and work many hours, and then what happens? You're burned out, right? And then you ask yourself, why am I not unhappy? My relationships are suffering. I don't know what I want to do anymore, kind of thing. I'm not sure what you do during those times, or like how you are getting yourself to this place where, hey, I know how to kind of create a life that is rewarding for me, and I'm still going to take care of myself throughout that process, so I'm not burned out by the things that I do enjoy because I'm maybe overdoing it or not spending enough time with my family. How do you kind of balance that?
I have very clear boundaries in my life uh, with everything I do. And this was a practice which I started doing after my son was born. Before that, I was too workaholic. And in fact, even when my son was born, the next day I started working because I had a normal delivery and I was like, everything is normal. My son is sleeping. What will I do? So I did not realize the value of having, taking maternity leave, bonding with my kid back then. For me, I was like workaholic. But then, couple of months later, I had a surgery, and my son was 3 months back then. So a couple of days of that, separation with him while I was in the hospital with my surgery and recovery and all changed my dynamics. And I was like, this is the most important thing for me. This is what I live for, like my family and all the things. Career is very important, but at the same time, I need to build boundaries. So since then, I was very clear what time I go to office, what time I come back from office. And I was clear that I would not touch my laptop after that if it is a burning issue. Because remember one thing, we spend so much time and we are like always hustling, bustling about the work and career and all. In the end, none of these things will matter. Like what time you spend with your family, how satisfied you are, that is very much important. And with the layoffs, I also realized one more thing, that you might be thinking this company will not run without me, but that's never the case. You are always replaceable in your job, but not in your family, in your life. Knowing that is very important. So I realized it when my son was born, and after that, I was very clear about having these clear boundaries in my life, like what I do, when I do. And until and unless it's a burning issue where the company is just going to shut down if I don't fix that issue, I would never. And that philosophy is what I stand by even today. I have a very strong work life balance because of that. The second thing, what I started doing was when my son was very small, right from when I started having some book reading with him. When he was not able to read, but I was able to show him some pictures and do. I started forming this habit of spending time with him doing book readings. And that, he's 12 years now, has become a daily ritual for us, that we sit together, we read books together, and we are working together on designing your life. So while I'm helping him understand the design thinking principles and how he can design the life he wants, I'm also doing it along with him. So we do these kind of things together. And I have made it a practice that he does meditation with me, because kids are very much hyperactive. And for him to understand that he needs to tame his mind a little bit in order to focus will help him a lot long run. And it's also helping me, right? Like meditation has changed a lot of things for me. It has moved things for me in miraculous way, which I cannot even tell you. So definitely I've seen a lot of meditation benefits. So I do that. I make sure that he's part of those rituals with me. So he also enjoys, he understands what gratitude is. Another thing is, many people talk about meditation, many people talk about journaling, many people talk about visualizations and all. Until and unless you understand how these work, I do affirmations as well. My phone has affirmations all the time. So, that is like a widget which I have. So no matter, when I open my phone, the first thing I see is a visualization, an affirmation. So for example, right now it says everything always works out for me. So, consciously, subconsciously, I am thinking about these things and I'm feeling it, right? All of those has helped me. So I've made it a practice even for my son to do it with me. It's twofold. I'm spending time with him. As a teenager, he's so busy. He can decide to just do Nintendo and PlayStations, okay, because he can do it. But he decided not to do that. He still loves spending time with me, sitting with me, reading books, and all of those things. Why? Because that was a habit I've made since childhood, right? But at the same time, I'm doing what is going to help me and help him as well, because we individuals, we are filled with emotions and anxieties, and without understanding how to tame your monkey mind, it's very difficult.
Wow. That's amazing. I love what you were saying is so relatable to anyone who has their own children, or taking care of a loved one, and realizing, and I think that that's what you said before was really powerful to really mention again, which was around, companies can replace you at any time, at any point, but no family can replace you. No, you know what I mean? Like they can't
There
create
will
another
always be
mom.
void. There will always be void.
Yeah, so powerful. And when you put that into perspective, then there's that alignment of what is real again, and what matters in life.
And that is why it is important that you spend time with yourself, and reflect on these things, right? You have to tame your mind. You can rewire your mind however you want. No one else is going to do any of these things. You have anxiety, you can go to a counselor. The counselor will give you some techniques and tips and all of those things. But until and unless you come to terms with your emotions, you come to terms with who you are, what you want to do, what you believe, these self-help will be very, very surface level. You are not fixing it from the root level.
Wow, you're right. And I wanted to kind of learn a little bit more about the meditation, because there's so many different ideas on what meditation is. Just sitting still, or like breathing in and out, listening to affirmation while you're meditating or something like that, or doing a guided meditation. What's your go-to practice for meditation?
So I do two things. Mornings, my meditations are more focused, where I do healing, right? I take energy from the earth, and I relax my entire body, and I'm visualizing that the earth's energy is getting into every part of my body and healing me, right? But after that, I start doing reflection from my heart. I start feeling the emotions I want to. What will I do today? How will I feel today? So all those things. So when you start doing meditations, every technique is different. There's no one or right or wrong. What has helped me or what worked for me is this. When I start with relaxation and when I focus, we call it heartfulness, coherence, like what you feel from your heart, and how you can send, people have this, people think that, our brain is the engine, brain drives everything, but it's so wrong. Our heart is what drives everything. What we feel is the signal we send to our brain, and then the brain starts to think about that way, and our body starts to feel that way. So heart is the initiator for everything. So I do heartfulness. So I, meditate from the heart after I do my relaxations. And I'm not doing anything. I'm just feeling, like from my heart, I feel gratitude, or I feel thankful. I feel joyful. All the emotions, what I have, like I start reflecting on so many good things happening in me more than, the bad things, or someone backstabbed me, or someone did that, or something else has happened in my life. Believe me, it has changed so much for me, like my perspective, my life, everything. And I've been doing meditation forever. uh, so that's what I do in the mornings. So my focus is more like setting the tone of the day and my emotion, because how you want your day is again up to you. You can get up and then immediately you start seeing your phone, you see a news about some weird thing happening, someone died, someone killed, gunshots, all of these kind of things. And then if you start your day with that tone, that's what is going to continue throughout. Your emotions will be all over the place. I decide not to do that. I decide to start with the emotions I want to feel, I want to experience: happiness, joy, gratitude, all the things. At night, my meditation is again twofold. I start with cleaning. I remove the traces of the day, all the impurities, the fears, the anxieties, all the things what I have accumulated throughout the day, with all the things which has happened through my interactions with people. I clean it from my body, from all my chakras. That's what I do. I clean that. And once I clean it, after that, again, I focus inwards, and I do meditation from my heart. And what emotions I want to feel, I feel those emotions and then feel grateful about it. It relaxes me so much. Literally, I feel like, all the impurities and complexities and emotions are literally going out of my body. I can feel it. I feel my heart is clear. My mind feels very light. I feel very good. So when I sleep like a baby. So those are the two things which I do in terms of meditation. For some people, guided meditation works. For some people, yoga nidra works. And some people say like, oh, no, you don't have to have any thoughts. Remember, it will never be that you will not have any thoughts. You'll have multiple thoughts. What you need to understand is you can coexist. So for example, I used to have a lot of OCD. I wanted my house to be like very, very like clean, and there were like a lot of issues which used to happen because of that. I used to fight with people like, why can't you keep the house clean? But when I realized like they are like that, I cannot change it. And I have to learn how to coexist with things and people how they are. I made peace with it and I felt much better. It's the same. Our thoughts will be in our mind all the time, happy, good, because that's why we call it monkey mind. It's always jumping from one place to the other, and some random thoughts, some future thought which have not even happened, some past thoughts, all of those. You need to just remember that those thoughts will coexist. Learn not to dwell into it, learn not to think a lot about those things, let it just flow. That's it, and continue doing what you are doing. Those thoughts will become insignificant in your life. That's it.
That's great. The fact that I was just thinking when you were saying like I choose these kind of emotions to invite in my life. Those emotions are like a space that you're creating out of abundance because it allows you to thrive, to feel good, to actually move and do things and not be hindered by fear or other people or limiting beliefs. Whereas the opposite, your body's gonna constrict. You don't feel like you're gonna want to move. You're gonna obviously just not make progress in many parts of your life. But I love that you're constantly kind of like cleansing yourself, right? Morning, evening, or giving yourself the right mindset throughout the day, and then cleansing yourself during the evening so that you can sleep well. And sleep is also very important. You kind of implied it, but the fact is, when you can have good sleep, now you have a balance. I think hormones, right, and life, and you're more present for your family. You're more present for what you love to do. So you basically did some really great practices in your life. So really, really awesome.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that because I'm gonna try to apply more of that into my life as well. So um, one of the things that I wanted to check in on with you is you have um, it seems like two or many different passions. And for people who are super creative, that feels a little bit overwhelming. Like, how do I create a business? How do I become a leader? How do I like do what I love and still get paid kind of thing, right? And how do I lead with emotion but not be judged by it? Stuff like that. All these different questions. I don't know if you can kind of tell us where to start or maybe like break it down for us in a way that could help. But that's kind of what I was wondering if you could let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have that emotions and feelings all the time because I'm creative. I want to do so many things. I feel like there are 100 different things I want to do, right? But you need to again create your own roadmap, right? You have to design your own life. You have to create your own roadmap of what you want to do, how you want to do. So all the goal settings which you might have learned, when you are working in a company, like, oh, you need to have goals, you need to set goals for the product and have some metrics around it. The same kind of philosophy needs to be applied even in your life. Like what you want to do, what you can do with your skills, like what is tangible now and what you need to do in order to, for example, okay, I wrote a book and all of those things, right? But imagine if I had to start that now, how would it happen? Like, what do I have? Where can I start now? What is the lowest hanging fruit for me? Okay, and then how I can build up the next skill. I want to start my own company. What is required in order for me to start that company? Or I want to start some bigger business or have a much bigger goal. I want to start multiple courses. how do I go about it? So you need to build up like all the things. And when you have to create, I mean, all over where I am, I have so many notebooks. I, always keep writing notes as and when it comes into my mind. I keep writing like I want to do this. And my to-do list is like 100 of things. And then I look back and I'm like, okay, what can I do? Start now, with what I know and what I have. In order for me to do anything bigger than that, like what skills do I need? What capabilities do I need? Okay, all of that. And then I start learning things around that, or start building my skills around that. So exactly like how you have to build your product, there's low hanging fruit, there's something which you can do right away. There are certain things where you need to build up the capability. In even in your life, it's the same thing. And remember, in your mind you want to do 100 different things until you put it into perspective somewhere. And every person is different. For me, what helps and works is when I start putting things down on paper. And when I start looking at it and reflect on it, some of those things might not make sense. Some of those things will make a lot more sense now. And that's what will help you.
That's great. I love that you're tapped into what works for you. You've been doing this for some time. You know that you are that creative person. You have a lot of thoughts, but you don't let that stop you. You actually find a resource or something that allows you to express yourself, and then you gauge and use other skills, other parts that you develop, which is the going back and determining which one can you work on and which one maybe you can kind of hold off until later. But the really cool part is you wrote it all down, so you can always go back to it at any point and then review what you need to. So that's really great. And thank you for sharing that. It's really great to know that we can, as creatives, we can work towards some small goals that will eventually become really big goals as well. Um, and I just wanted to kind of chime in. Well, first of all, check in with you about um, your vision. I think you have a pretty big vision since you were a little kid, if I don't mind saying so. um, and it seems like you've gotten yourself to where you are because of that vision, that dream, that huge idea of I'm gonna be everywhere. My name's gonna be known. Where are you now with your goals, and how big is this vision that you're trying to go for?
Yeah, you need to have a vision. If you have to, that is what is the driving factor in life. It could be personal visions, it could be professional visions, right? Yeah, as a kid, I wanted to be a thought leader and be known for my work. My vision has grown bigger now, and I feel like every household should know me for the work I do, and should remember my legacy. It should not be that Shyamala Prayaga is known now, but okay, no one knows who Shyamala Prayaga is when she is not there anymore. But I want that even when I'm not around, even when I'm like gone, people should know who I am, like Steve Jobs, right? People know who Steve Jobs is, or people know who Thomas Alva Edison is. People know these people for something they have built or something they have made. I want to be known like that. I want everyone to know, like my dream is such now, and I'm aiming towards that. I don't know what it means. Does it mean that I'll become a politician one day? I don't know. I have no interest in that. I don't know what the future is. I just have sent the signal to universe like, okay, my dream is much more bigger now. I want to be known everywhere for the kind of work I do, right? uh Now and later as well. That's it. And yeah, let's wait and watch what happens now.
I'm excited.
Uh,
I think you're doing so many great work, and the fact is, you do it with kindness, you do it with love, and you do it with generosity. Because it's so easy to just kind of like be a face figure, like out there. But you're very personable, and you give time, you connect with people, and you really try to help and not just um, say, like brag. Like that's what I've been doing. Like so I think it's so wonderful to have people like you be out there in the world, talking about human experiences and technology, something that obviously is kind of like an unknown to certain people to this day. But the fact is, you know there's a need, a gap, and you're trying to fill that need. And though you're one person, you basically brought a huge community along with you, and you've grown it. Um, and I'm just super excited to know you and to like see where this vision and this all of your projects and your hard work are going towards, and also possibly even your family, like how they're going to contribute to it, because you know, you said you have your son and he's like learning so much from you too. So it only makes sense that you guys are going to go further down that direction. Did you have any quick thoughts on any of that before we jump into the next?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say like family is so much important. They are your support system. So where I am today, whatever I'm doing, is because my husband is able to support me a lot. I have a lot of support from my family. So you may have a dream, you may have a vision, but if you don't have the support, it will not work. So you need to also make sure that, you know, everything has to be aligned. You know, so like you are as a product manager or as a, you know, designer, aligning with your stakeholders. Even in your life, you have to keep aligning. If you want to create your life, think about it as a product, right? Like it's a product which you are building and a product which you genuinely care about. There are visions and goals associated to it, and you have to align a lot of people. You have to bring in a lot of people in your life. It's not one person's job or one person's responsibility. Like there will be so many people who will become your steps, or they will become you know, like the significant part of building this. It's like a product, you know, you need developer, you need designers, you need engineers, product managers, everyone to build up a product. It's the same thing. Your life will need a lot of people, and you have to just start bringing everyone together.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. And the last question I wanted to ask you is, who or what inspires you?
And that's an interesting question. What inspires me when I see women leader out there, you know, who has done a lot, or you know, are known for their significant work, especially from underprivileged places, right? That inspires me a lot. That gives me a lot of hope. And Indra Nui, for example, you know, she was the CEO of PepsiCo, and you know, came from India, from a conservative family, where you know, similar to my background, when I see their journey, their experiences, and you know, where they are, definitely that inspires me.
That's so powerful, and I loved your thoughts on what inspires you, and I think you're an amazing, inspiring person. So where can people find or follow you and get to know you more about your work?
Yeah, I am very active on LinkedIn. So definitely people can follow me there. They can search for my name, Shyamala Prayaga. And yeah, that's the most, you know, common place people can find me. I'm not very active on Twitter. And I am active on Instagram. So people can also find me there. My handle is Prayaga Shyamala.
And do you have any final thoughts for our audience or anything you wanted to share?
I would only say one thing, you know, life will never be easy. Life will never be easy. You will have lots and lots of ups and downs. It's up to you what you want to focus on, right? So I would rather say that focus on what will help you grow than shrink you down.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you so much. If you haven't already heard of Shyamala or read her books, definitely check it out. I think you'll get to understand and learn more about what she's trying to say and communicate to the world, and how you can be your own inspiration as well and create your own life that you wish, and be the inspiration that you know you can be. So super excited. Thank you, Shyamala, for being on the show, and thank you everyone for listening, and have a great day.